Spice up to? Who? Sporty fucking Spice. What's she up to? I don't know. And baby, not even page 6 of the Daily Mail. You see, when they're apart, they're absolute fucking rubbish. But you put them together and they're the goddamn fucking Spice Girls. Welcome to the Pixel Pop Movie Podcast. I'm your host this fortnight, Toby. With me, I'm joined by Baby Spice Lucas.
Yeah, you know I am.
And I really don't think you're a sporty Spice. Mate, Scary Spice, Ethan. Scary Spice, Ethan.
Yeah, sounds more like me.
Scary Spice definitely checks out. I was going to say, hey, it's fucking sporty about that bitch.
Excuse me?
Oh, starting off rough.
You're excused.
Starting off rough. Lucas has had a bad week. He's a bit under the weather. He's a bit grumpy. It's like the bear coming out of hibernation. Anyway, topic of conversation this fortnight. We're gonna dive into The Boys, obviously, by that little intro quote, which recently premiered on Amazon Prime. We've all watched it. We've got some thoughts, so we're gonna do spoiler free, and then we'll do some warnings and do spoilers, and then we've got an interesting topic of conversation this fortnight, and I haven't prepared either of these two lads for it, so they're going to be frantically scratching their heads, and that is, are film critics, so that includes us, I suppose, still worth reading or listening to in an age where we now have, peer reviews so readily available? Interesting one. But before we dive into any of that, we've got all the latest trailers, news, gossip, rumours, and bullshit, so please take us away, Ethan.
First bit of news we got is something that I'm sure me and Toby are excited about, and that is Vin Diesel has teased that Riddick 4 is in development. He has gotten the first act of the script. He put the video up on his Instagram, and it was dated July 18th, 2019, Act 1.
Yep. So keen. Finally.
Yeah.
I feel though...
David Toy, who did the others as well.
Yeah. I get the feeling though, because sort of pre the last Riddick film, like after we had the Chronicles of Riddick, it was this discussion of, I don't know if you remember, there was a lot of talk, and not spoilers, but talk going around that it was going to be a trilogy, and that you started with the Chronicles of Riddick, and then there was going to be sort of the Chronicles of Riddick Part 2 is meant to go to the Underverse, and then Chronicles of Riddick Part 3, he was going to deal with Furia. And obviously that didn't happen, and then now we sort of had Riddick, which was kind of almost a retelling of Pitch Black.
It was, yeah.
And that's fine, it was good to get more Riddick, but it was kind of, if you'd seen Pitch Black, it was a bit, been here, done that. And then it sort of ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, especially with that sort of extended version, and you realise that it looks like they're about to jump into the Underverse, but the title on this next Riddick film was Fury, wasn't it? Or Furiosa, or Furia. Yeah, Furia, or whatever it is. So the home planet of the Furians. So I wonder if we're going to sort of just skip the Underverse arc, or I don't know. Because we always kind of wanted him to go down there and rescue. Kira in the second one, but what's her name in the first one? Jack. Yeah, we kind of wanted him to rescue Jack, but I don't know. I don't know if it's going to happen now.
He finds out that Carl Urban's character, what's his name?
Draco.
He finds out that he knows where Furia is, and that's still there, but he's gone to the Underverse, so he goes after him. I'm pretty sure it's him being Riddick, so he's going after him to the Underverse to try and track him down and take him. So we still might get it, but it all depends on whether or not Carl Urban will come back for it or not.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a shorter version though, because I mean, it was said originally it felt like they were talking about a whole film dealing with Underverse, and now it's, yeah. All right, anyway, I'm keen.
Next we have Amazon's All the Rings TV show has found its first cast member.
Mm-hmm.
And her name is Markella Cavagna. I don't think she's been in anything big. Oh no, Romper Stomper. She's Australian. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, which wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, she's Aussie. So
it wouldn't surprise me, because they're filming this in New Zealand, so you're going to get a lot of Australian and New Zealand's for, I don't want to say filler roles, but I mean, because even well, to be fair, even the New Line trilogy films had plenty of Australian and New Zealand big roles, so I think they will cast some locals. Yeah, so who's she playing?
Hasn't been said.
Right, okay.
Next we have Ridley Scott has teamed up with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
For a 14th century tale called The Last Duel, where Ridley Scott will direct, and Matt Damon and Ben Affleck are writing and also starring.
Because these two haven't been together since Good Will Hunting, if I'm not mistaken.
Nah, way past that.
Dogma and all that sort of shit.
Dogma?
Maybe. Yeah. Oh no, I'm thinking Kevin Smith and Ben Affleck. I think it was the more.
No, well they haven't seen each other since Clerks 2. But
Right.
Matt Damon and Ben Affleck haven't done a movie together in a long time.
Yeah, okay. I thought it was Good Will Hunting, but yeah, I'm probably wrong there.
Good Will Hunting's the big one that they did, but they did stuff.
Oh no, I
that.
think the difference is they wrote Good Will Hunting together. I could be, or it
Yeah,
could
and
be,
then Gus,
I'm pretty sure.
Gus Van Sant directed it.
Yeah,
And then, but like, this is the last movie that they like worked on together as like screenwriters.
yeah.
Yeah, I think the last movie they actually like worked on like as a duo was Jan Silent Bob's Strike Back, when they were filming Good Will Hunting 2, Hunt Harder or something.
Next, we had a trailer for Jojo Rabbit. Taika Waititi's.
Oh yes, I didn't get a chance to watch that, but I've heard a lot. Is it as good as you
watch
hoped?
it right now.
Please
watch it right now.
Oh, I'll trust you. I'll watch it later. But it's as good as you'd hoped.
It looks pretty good.
All right,
Yeah.
sweet.
There are going to be people who may have seen like Thor Ragnarok and been like, "Oh, cool, we're going to get like a movie like Thor Ragnarok." Oh no, we're not. Like,
Now, I don't give a shit about white supremacists in the slightest. Is this going to upset some people though politically? And again, fuck white supremacists. But is this going to upset other people?
Yeah.
I think it may in the sense of that it normalizes Hitler.
Okay,
However,
it's
within
going
the context of the story, Hitler makes sense, and it's such a weird concept to kind of wrap your head around. But
right.
the
So is it
reason why
fair to
Hitler
say?
is
I
such
mean,
a
look,
main character.
I don't think there's many survivors, obviously, left from World War II. I mean, if they are, they're extremely
Yeah.
old now. But is it fair to say then, like, if you're obviously your family or a person that's been directly impacted, you should still consider at least watching the trailer because it is so offbeat. Like, it's just so, it's not. I mean, it's Taika playing Hitler, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah.
Yes. So he's the least Hitler you could expect.
He whitewashes Hitler, and it's amazing. Like, sorry,
Okay.
white faces Hitler, and it's amazing. But like, it's kind of hard to satirize one of the darkest things that's happened in human history. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, there are people that are probably going to watch this and be like, watch the trailer and be like, "Oh, what the fuck are we watching?" Then there's some people who are going to be like, "Oh, like Taika Waititi, he's funny." You're going to kind of take it in the vein of like, it's all satire.
Yeah.
And
I wondered
that's
too,
how
like,
he writes, and
if
that's
this
how
is
he does
something
things.
he might have been sort of banging around in his head for a while, and it's a case of, well, if you were, not to say nobody, but if you were a small name making this, people don't know where you're coming from, and now that he has a name and people go, oh, it's just Taika being Taika. Is that a thing, do you think?
You know what? If he had have made this movie when he was a smaller director, I think he might have gotten away with it.
Okay.
Like,
So now he's bigger, this could be
in the sense of like cultural insensitivity, like, again, trying to normalize Hitler as just this everyday dude. Whereas, like, it could have been the bad brains of Taika Waititi, if you know what I mean. We put it up against Peter Jackson and Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, all right.
It's just interesting that he's doing this film now, and it's also interesting because, like, not only has it's just the cast that he has behind him doing this project with him. Scarlett Johansson's in it. I think Sam Neill was coming back. You could probably name the rest of the cast, but
Sam Rockwell, Rebel Wilson, Scarlett Johansson. Those are the biggest ones.
yeah, there was a few other big names in the trailer too. So it's got like a decent cast behind him, and I don't think he would have gotten that cast had he have done this earlier in his career.
Right.
It's just kind of it's kind of a bizarre trade-off. Like, this is going to be a huge gamble
Yeah.
in the sense of what the subject matter is.
Distributed by Walt Disney.
That's another interesting side of the coin too.
Yeah. Well, it
We're
must
not
be
gonna
only
get
rated
into.
PG-13 or something, but yeah.
Production company is Fox Searchlight, but distributed by Walt Disney.
Yeah.
All right, cool. When's that coming out, do we know? Later this year?
September something.
Okay, cool.
It's going to premiere at Fantastic Fest, and then it's going into the cinemas sometime after. Next, we had a trailer for Playmobil, the movie.
I
Now,
don't
if
know
you're
what
a
that is.
fan of
this is-
Playmobil, it's the
This is weird.
yeah, no, it's like the fucking like Lego for toddlers.
Yeah.
Oh, like Duplo.
Yeah, kind of.
Nah, like way worse than Duplo.
All right, so cheap, nasty knockoff of Duplo
Yeah,
that you see at the discount pop-up stores.
yeah. But they're doing a
Okay.
movie. I saw it at the cinemas like a couple of weeks back when I was there. I saw a poster for it, and I'm like, are they actually doing this movie? It's gonna
Okay.
be fucking fake. And then I saw the trailer, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is real.
Okay, so this is news simply because it's so terrible. Nice.
Yeah, well, sure. I just thought someone might be interested. And I thought,
There's
you know,
that-
I'm
there's-
gonna back
there's
up
that
popcorn
one-
movie and go watch it.
There's that one person going, yes!
Yeah, I thought it might have been you. I thought you might have
No,
just check it
no.
out. Now on to some bit of sad news. Rutger Hauer has passed away
Yeah.
at age 75.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah, I mean...
Why did I get a Rutger Hauer quote at the start of the movie? The start of the podcast?
Well, because it's so cliche. I mean, all those memories will be lost in time like tears in the rain.
That's also... Yes. You are correct.
But I mean, it's a loss. I mean, outside of Blade Runner, I saw a few things that he'd done. Obviously, he wasn't his first language wasn't English, and he'd done a number of European films. I'd seen a few things with him, mainly when he was younger. I did pick up, and I haven't really spent enough time with yet, The Observer, which was a PC game that he starred in and played the lead character, and it's a detective noir thing, very Blade Runner-esque. So I'm sort of keen to probably go back through that. But it was uncanny too, because I just sat down and watched the original Blade Runner again about 2 days before I heard the news, which coincidentally would have been about when he passed, because the news of his death came out about 4 days after he passed away, because it was announced sort of during the funeral. So that was freaky. That sort of blew my mind a little bit, that I was, thinking of him, obviously.
Next, we had a trailer for Zombieland Double Tap.
Yeah.
Which is in theaters October 18th, 10 years after the first one.
Yeah. I wonder how much time they're going to have elapsed in the film world, so to speak.
Maybe 10 years?
It looks like it's been about 10 years.
Yeah, and you think about a zombie world.
Very much grown up and...
Yeah, 10 years later in in a world like that, and to still be alive, they're going to be experts by now. But also, I kind of expect them to be a bit more savage. When there's no morality and there's no, comeuppance or punishment. There's no police. There's no, cover your mouth when you burp or anything. There's no, you know what I mean? It's just, I think you'd go a bit feral.
I don't know. They're all pretty, again, this is kind of just going off one film from 10 years ago. But the end of that movie, as well with this trailer, it seemed very much like they were family and they all kind of kept themselves in check.
I think it's a comedy first, so those sorts of pressing questions on don't fit in here. Yeah, that's the sort of thing you'd cover in Walking Dead.
I was about to say, whereas you would normally find that type of behavior in Walking Dead, where this is more like, hey, look, there's a zombie that looks like Dan Aykroyd this time.
Yeah.
I found a movie trailer popped up for a movie called Abigail. It's apparently a Russian movie, but I didn't think it was. But it gave me a strong Bioshock and sort of Dishonored vibe to it. It looked really weird. And more Dishonored than Bioshock. I mean, if you're interested, check it out. But I thought it'd be a nice addition.
All right, is that coming to a streaming service or a cinema or?
Oh, I don't fucking know.
Is it already out? I mean, you found a trailer. What's going on?
I don't think it's already out. The trailer only came out 2 weeks ago.
Right. Okay.
I haven't heard anything about when it's coming out and where's it going to or what. I got no idea. I think it's based on a book by reading the comments. Yeah. I'm not sure. It looked interesting.
Okay.
Next we had a trailer for Gemini Man, the second trailer.
Yep.
Starring Will Smith.
And Will Smith.
This movie, with every trailer, looks even better.
I haven't seen a single trailer for this movie.
And it's hard to say that about a Will Smith movie lately.
So, Lucas, what's The Lighthouse all about?
Yeah.
Whoa. So, this movie... Have you guys watched the trailer for it yet?
I have not.
Okay. So, this is the Robert Pattinson, Willem Dafoe movie that he's getting crazy, wild, critical, acclaim. You gotta watch it. I can't even explain it, but it kind of delves into this very genre-feeling horror movie about two people that work at a lighthouse, and it's all shot in black and white. It all feels very reminiscent of a 1930s, 1940s movie. Just the way it's shot, the way it's framed, the way it's acted to a point. But then, all of a sudden, this horror shit starts happening, and it looks really fucking good. Definitely, I recommend at least watching the trailer, kind of dipping your toe in. I know there's going to be a lot of people who don't like Robert Pattinson, think he's overrated because of all Twilight and shit, but
I think if you talk to Robert Pattinson, I'm pretty sure he's on the same boat as us. Every time he brings it up now, he's like, fuck Twilight. He's dude, he was like that on the third movie. Right? Yeah. I mean, he's sort of stuck. Yeah, I think Pattinson pretty much agrees with the rest of the audience that weren't into Twilight. And like we've said in the past, he's done some amazing sort of lesser known stuff that's worth checking out. And he's a decent actor. So he's even done a couple of movies with fucking Cronenberg.
Next, we had a trailer for The Hunt.
Yeah, I watched it. The trailer, that is. I don't know if you did. Probably not.
I did.
Okay, it's basically. I'm pretty sure the story's been done several times before. It's rich people organize a hunt to hunt down and kill humans in a specified plot of land, and and then obviously it's been going on for a while, and then they pick up the wrong person, and she's a badass bitch, and she just fights back.
Moving on, we've got Ansel Elgort has seen the Baby Driver 2 script.
Hopefully with less Kevin Spacey.
And I only watched Baby Driver for the first time towards the end of last year.
That movie is so good.
Everyone's been like, "Oh, Baby Driver's amazing, Baby Driver's amazing," and I'm like, eh. And I sat down and she watched it one night, and I'm like, okay, this is it. That's it. She bad. Next, we had a trailer for Madness and the Method, the first movie directed by Jason Mewes.
Oh man,
I've got no idea.
So,
movie.
I'm still kind of confused whether or not Jason Mewes is actually playing himself. From what I can gather, everyone is playing themselves, but Kevin Smith gives him a book about method acting, and then it turns him into the greatest actor that has ever lived. It just looks ridiculous. All the View Askew guys are in it as well. Dante from Clerks is in it. Harley Quinn, Kevin Smith's daughter's in it. Who else was in it? There's heaps of Danny Trejo,
Danny Jones, Gina Carano, Casper Van Dien, David Dastmalchian.
Yeah, it's got a lot of random celebrities in it, and it just looks funny.
Next, we have Tom Hardy is hinting that Andy Serkis might direct Venom 2. He is up for the role, up for the director's position, along with him and Travis Knight, who did the Bumblebee movie. Those apparently the two frontrunners. Ruben Fleischer cannot return because he's scheduling conflicts or something else. I reckon Andy Serkis will be not bad for it.
Yeah, I think it was Hardy put something up on his Twitter. Picture of Serkis or something.
He deleted it.
Oh, he did delete it, did he?
And then
he
swiftly took it down.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Next, we have Halo TV series is set for 2021. They've cast Natasha McElhone will take on the role of Catherine Halsey.
Natasha McElhone. So she was recently in Designated Survivor.
Which just got cancelled.
Which also just happened to get cancelled. But she had been pulled out of that show at the start of season 2.
You also have Booking Woodbine has been cast as another Spartan, as well as several other people as well. So they're really gearing up to start filming it. Next, we have Mortal Kombat writer has compared the tone of the film to Deadpool.
No thanks.
Not keen for that.
But Mortal Kombat's not a comedy at all, at any stage.
No,
the newer games put comedy in.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant. The newer ones have, and then maybe going to the newer ones for more inspiration. Especially with how the newer ones are going in sales and how well they're actually doing, they may be looking at that for inspiration.
Yeah, but nobody's playing those new games for the humour. I mean, they do laugh at things like the Johnny Cage fatality the first time, but if you're playing Mortal Kombat for humour, then you're confused. Most people are playing it for you wouldn't buy a fighting game that had trash fighting mechanics and humour.
Oh, no, definitely not.
So I feel that it's definitely not aimed at people like me. That's for sure. Who are fans of the original.
Next, we have Phil Lord and Chris Miller have signed onto Universal. A first look for Universal, isn't it, Lucas?
Yeah. So basically, this is the same deal that J.J. Abrams has with Warner Brothers now with Bad Robot.
So anything that these guys come up with, Universal gets first dibs at. Is that what you're telling me?
No, anything that Universal want. I think it's the other way around. I think anything that Universal has, they get a first look at to see if they want to make it, and if they don't want to make it, then they can pass it off to someone else. I think that's how it works.
Gotcha.
But then as well, they also have their own creative arm where they can create their own content, and then Universal will either greenlight it or stop it. The Universal deal is going to be super interesting, and I'm really, really interested what the first picture is going to be at the gate for them.
And then next, we have Warner Bros. Has pushed Dune by a month from November 2020 to December 18th, 2020. And I think they've moved up the Elvis Presley movie from
the Baz Luhrmann one,
November to October 1st, 2021.
Guess it doesn't star Kurt Russell, right?
No, it stars I don't know what his name is.
Whoosh.
Oh no, I got it. Kurt Russell.
You got the reference? He
Elvis.
did. Yeah, he did play Elvis. Yeah.
He did the voice of Elvis in Forrest Gump as well.
Yes. Yeah.
And the last bit of, second to last bit of news, Kevin Conroy has joined the Arrowverse crossover this year as an old Bruce Wayne.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Holy shit. We are getting the greatest Batman that has ever lived
He's voiced
in live action.
so long.
Hey?
He's been voicing Batman for a long time, hasn't he?
Oh, like since the animated series.
Yeah. And now he's finally going to appear as an old one.
Yeah, there's kind of been this running joke of like he'll never be a live action Batman or he'll never be a live action Bruce Wayne, like ever. And then they're bringing him into the Arrowverse, and this is going to be absolutely wild.
Yeah, because this crossover is going all out.
I'm so far behind on those shows. This piece of news today made me decide that I need to get back in and watch them all just so I can catch up just to watch this, because this is how huge this is.
And our last bit of news, just for Lucas, is a trailer for The Irishman.
Oh,
I mean, I don't care about this, so I thought I'll let you talk about it.
This dropped oh my god, this dropped the day after we recorded the last podcast. But I mean, Scorsese, Pacino, and De Niro. That's all you need to know. Watch it. Watch the shit out. And that's all you need to know, man. Like, Martin Scorsese is a living god when it comes to filmmaking.
Yeah.
So speaking of news that dropped just after we finished recording too, this is just a little tidbit. We were talking about the Blade film last fortnight, if you recall, and not long after that, because we were saying, hey, nobody's heard from Snipes. Snipes then did come out and make a comment supporting Marvel's decision. He was supportive of Mahershala Ali and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, I believe publicly no bad blood, but, you know, maybe there's some seething underneath. But
I believe he jumped on Twitter and told everyone to chillax.
Chillax, yeah, exactly. Question though, and I just quickly question to each of you: do you think that the new MCU Blade with Ali, do you think they'll mimic the films and have him as an American character, or do you think they'll keep him true to the comic books and have him British? Because I don't know if a lot of people realize or not, in the comics, Blade is actually British. He's English.
Yeah. No, I think they'll keep him English because it's getting to a point now where they need to start having characters that are worldwide. And
haven't been bumping into the existing Avengers kicking it.
Yeah, and like, well, as well, like, how many of them are kind of like patrolling the underworld, you know?
I don't know. Off the back of something we were chatting about last Friday too, I popped the question up on Facebook page, and that was, I put a poll to our listeners, readers, viewers, and that was talking about HD remakes that, you know, obviously we see with video games today. And I said, would you go back to the cinema to watch something like the original Toy Story with higher polygon models, better lighting, higher resolution textures? So still the same film, nothing's changed in terms of voice acting or anything like that. It's just literally like a texture pack that you would install for a game. And the result was interesting, actually. We got back 59% said no, and 41% said yes, out of 80 votes. I thought that was a bit interesting, actually. So obviously, sentimental attachment, or for whatever other reason, they actually had a bit of conversation on it. We got quite a few comments too, so we got people talking. So that was just cool. Would you guys go and see it? Would you endorse that?
Yeah, I voted yes.
I wouldn't see it.
There you go. Okay, so it's definitely an interesting topic that it stimulated some discussion. That was great. So I'll see if I can think up something else to pop up there and get people having a yak. We'll talk about it in the next episode of the podcast. But let's move on into The Boys, which recently premiered on Amazon Prime. Obviously based on the comic book series. And I think when I first heard it was announced way back when on the podcast, I laughed because I thought, how the hell are you going to turn this into a TV series? This shit was adult as hell, remembering the comics. And then we got the TV series and I laughed because shit was adult as hell. They just did it.
So, coming from like someone who's read the books, like I haven't read it all the way to the end, but I've read a majority of it. It's really interesting seeing the reaction from people that I know. That's like, oh, sweet, another superhero TV show. And then they got like the first episode in, and like I had people messaging me being like, what the fuck is this show? They just must not have realized that it was going to be as violent or as sadistic or anything as it was. Yeah, like it made me laugh because I knew what was coming.
Yeah, all right. So
a lot of people were caught off guard, but a lot of people at the same time as seemingly all love it. So
To be clear, we're going to be spoiler free here, so if you haven't watched the show at all because you haven't got around to it, whatever, this is cool. Don't expect us to ruin anything for you. We'll warn you well and truly before we get into spoilers. But so keep going then, Lucas. I think what you're saying too is I felt it was very much a breath of fresh air. Not that I have any problems with what Marvel's doing, loving every minute of it, but obviously there's so much superhero stuff coming through now. It was really nice to see some anti-hero, like to really flip that whole thing on its head. Like perfect time for this show.
Yeah, I loved it. Like, I knew, again, coming from someone who read the books, I knew that there were things that are going to be changed, and I was kind of ready for it. And in the grand scheme of things, they didn't change, like, that much, but they changed enough that, like, it streamlined the show a lot better than what the book was. Like, the book kind of drops you in at a very hard point, whereas the show kind of brings you in. It's like, hey, we're going to set these characters up for you, and guess what? The second act, we're going to knock these fuckers down. Not much I can say outside of spoilers.
Yeah,
that I can really get into. But the big surprise that I actually thought I really enjoyed. Not that I didn't enjoy him in the comics, but Frenchie was like my favorite in this whole show. He was a crack up through the whole thing. Like he's not. As far as I remember, he's not really that funny in the books. Or I may have misread a lot of his text. His dialogue. I may have misread it as not being funny, but like in the show, he's hilarious.
What were your thoughts, Ethan?
I thought it was really good. I binge watched the first 6 episodes on a Friday night, and I finished the next 2 and I woke up the next morning. It was really good. There's a lot of points where I laughed in the show, and I'm thinking I'm going to hell for laughing as much as I did for this.
I think that's the point.
I'm sure you know like the one I'm talking about.
Oh,
but I literally had there's like a 10-minute period where I just couldn't stop fucking laughing over this one scene. It caught me off guard because I haven't read the comics, so it caught me off guard about a lot of the stuff in it, but I absolutely loved it. I cannot wait for season 2. It was so good. I've shown like several clips to some of my friends, and they're like, all right, yeah, I'll start watching it now.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It was interesting. Someone asked me what my favorite character was in the show, and normally for me, I sort of do that. I'll flip it backwards and think about the characters that I didn't like, in order to sort of whittle it down. And I can't. Like, every character in the show, whether they're a villain or... I'm not going to say they're heroes, because they're really not. They're more anti-heroes, aren't they? Literally, in this sense, they are anti-heroes. But, regardless of their role in the story, big or small, every character in this was just so well written and so well presented that it was just a pleasure to watch, like, from beginning to end, in my opinion, anyway. I just thought it was just, like, it's just really... Like, normally you go, oh, this person let the team down, like, in terms of acting, or this character is underdeveloped, undercooked. Like, there was just nothing. Like, it was just so polished. And I just gobbled it up over 2 days as well, and sort of, I felt the 8 episodes was spot on. Like, there was there was maybe one little bit that sort of, not redundant, but kind of sidetracked a bit, but by and large, it was a steady story, like, paced throughout. And yeah, same thing. As soon as it ended, I was just like, no, you bastards! Where's season 2? I must have it now. Which is thankfully being confirmed already. So it was confirmed even before I think season 1 dropped. So you have to watch it. Like, it's just a no-brainer. Like, you have to watch it. It's definitely in the grander political scheme of things. It's just definitely showing that Amazon is becoming a real threat to Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
You know, as someone like, I've had Prime now for a couple of years, and aside from 1 or 2 shows, it's been pretty ordinary. Like, there's a lot of chaff on Prime. Like, there's a lot of crappy 80s horror films and shit you've never even heard of, and soft porn, and like, it's just there's just trash. And they're really starting to turn it around with this original content, and there's been a few things, but this is definitely this is a big one for them, and it's I mean, as consumers, this is fantastic. I mean, as much as I really have a dirty, guilty pleasure with Man in the High Castle, I think it's a great show. This is probably, and as much as I love Stranger Things 3, and it was thoroughly enjoyed and impressed, I gotta say, this is probably the best TV show I've watched this year to date.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say.
I just can't fault it.
I can't say anything bad about Stranger Things 3. This was very good. I'd probably put him around the same.
We'll warn you here now. Clearly, we're going to move into some spoiler territory now, so if you haven't seen it, check the time codes down below, move forward to our topic of conversation. Otherwise, if you have seen it all, or you just don't care, stick around, because I'm going to take Lucas off the leash. Go.
Can we just say that the biggest shock even for me,
The ending?
coming out of that show was the fact that Becca was alive.
Yeah, I know that would have knocked a lot of people out.
Because that doesn't happen in the book.
Nope.
She's dead.
Yeah,
Like,
you see in the book near the beginning, like she's a mess. She's dead.
she's 1000% dead.
Yeah, doesn't the
there's
baby like literally?
She's Uncle Ben dead.
Yeah,
Like that's how
Yeah.
dead she is. And
but isn't it delicious though? Because this allows Butcher, who's already a very dark and vengeful character, to go even more dark and vengeful now. Right? He's already. I mean, he's bitter and twisted as fuck, and he's out to kill fucking old mate. But now that his wife's alive and been lying to him, he's just gonna be. I mean, it might change his opinion on supers a bit, but he's just gonna be.
no, it won't.
I mean, he's gonna hate that boy, isn't he? I mean,
well, the boy's not his.
that's what I mean. He's gonna hate that boy.
If anything, I think this is going to make him hate supers more. This is also going to make him even more unpredictable. And he was
Yeah.
unpredictable from the outset. And going forward in the story, he's even more unpredictable. This whole reveal of his wife still being alive with the kid of a superhero. This next season, like, if you didn't know that a season 2 was coming, like, with the way that show ended, you know that there's a season 2 coming now.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, like the ending of the show, like it knocked me for a loop because I was like waiting for kind of the end of that arc from the books, and then like the explosion happens and stuff, and then he's out on the field, and I'm like, why is Homelander being so cool? He's a giant dick.
Yep.
But like all of a sudden he was just being super nice to Billy, and I'm like, all right, is this a dream or something? And then fucking Becca walks out, and I'm like, what? Apart from that though, there were some pretty major changes regarding like specific characters. The big, arguably the biggest one, I think, was the Deep. So in the books, he's a lot more chill and not a giant prick.
Now, his story's obviously got a lot more to tell because, I mean, the last we see him, he's sort of really having a crisis, and he's standing in front of the mirror and he's having a crisis, and that's the last you see of him. So obviously there's a lot more coming with his story. And same with Noir. Is it Noir? Black Noir or whatever?
Yeah, Black Noir.
Like, we know nothing about that character in so much as the TV series anyway. So there's so much more that we can explore, which is great.
How much do you want to bet that Black Noir next season or on a season 3, he's going to take off his helmet and he's going to be someone ridiculously famous? Is going to play him for one.
Like, how funny would it be, like, even if in the last episode, he takes his mask off and it's like Brad Pitt or someone.
Brad Pitt, or like George Clooney or something like that.
You want, what's his name? Is it Donnie Yen or whatever, the martial artist?
Donnie Yen.
Oh, Donnie Yen would be dope.
That'd be what I'd want.
Or like Jet Li or something like that, just takes his mask off and it's like, hey, what the hell?
How fucking good was the dolphin scene though? The slow-mo through the fucking window and then just the truck. Holy shit.
And then the lobster one,
he makes the comment about having sex with its blowhole.
Yeah.
Or something like that, and I was like,
because the dolphin wants him to touch it or something, yeah.
Yeah, the dolphin's horny for it,
But fuck that, was hilarious. Just turns into fucking dog meat.
And the other one that I could not help but laugh at so much was when A-Train visits the hospital.
Ethan messaged me about that. He's like, please tell me you've watched this episode.
Yeah, man.
I think we were about to watch it.
Yeah, you were.
Like, yeah, I'm done. And he's like the scene in the hospital, dude. And I'm like, holy shit, how good is it?
I legit could not stop laughing for 10 minutes. I watch it again, and I cannot. It's just because of like all the memes I see of like people being like, "Oh, Mum said I just had a cough, and then the Avengers are visiting me in hospital," and I'm like, "Okay, this is like pure." I'm sure they purely based that whole scene off those memes going around. And it was just amazing. Like, you see the viewers in the live video start like disappearing as it's going on. I'm like, this is just absolutely perfect.
Yeah, you watch the view count start to drop.
It just starts dropping dramatically, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so good. But I was also a little bit because after watching the show, I went back and like had a read up on the comics and who's in it, and the fact that Translucent isn't in the comics at all. He's only for the show.
Yeah, so there was a few new hero or a few new supers, we'll call them.
Yeah, he replaced the guy who's essentially Martian Manhunter. Apparently.
Yeah, Jack from Jupiter.
Yeah, that's the one. He replaced him.
Jack from Jupiter, he was who he replaced.
Yeah.
Another new character was Mesmer, which was Haley Joel Osment's character. And Ezekiel was replaced. Ezekiel was a newer version of Oh Father, the difference between them is that in the show, Ezekiel is a homosexual, but he's praising like Jesus and he's all super religious, whereas O Father was a pedophile.
And
So obviously
which is probably just a bit too dark.
Yeah.
There was an article that came out on Screen Rant that, as far as I'm aware, or at least to this article, there was only one scene that went too far that they cut out of the TV show, and it's Homelander. He's flying over the city and he jerks off and just comes
I read that
over the city.
So Kripke, who for those that don't know, Eric Kripke created Supernatural. He's the lead creative force behind The Boys. Yes, it said it was only one scene that he wrote in the whole show that got rejected by Amazon, and it was basically Homelander after he has the first fight, I think, with Madeline.
And he's like, I'm a superhero, I can do whatever the fuck I want.
It starts jerking off on top of a building, coming to the scene of New York.
Yeah, because he can.
So fucking stupid.
Yeah, I love the fact too that, look, as I said, it answered a lot of questions, but it brought up heaps more. Like, there's just so much more room to move into season 2. And whether you're a fan of the books or you've never read them, there's so much here for both parties.
Yeah, the one thing I'm interested in seeing, right, is we know obviously that the female has powers.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Karen Fukuwara's character, but in the books, they actually go toe to toe with superheroes and inject themselves with Compound V.
Yeah, Carl Urban said that. Well, originally, I think it was a couple of years back when they're still developing it, he said that Compound V would not be in the series at all. This is what Carl Urban said at one of the Comic-Cons.
Wow.
I think that this is
That's
like early,
changed?
Yeah, I think he said that before they actually even started filming it.
Yeah. So obviously Simon Pegg not playing the character that he's inspired by, but playing, I thought it was kind of neat, he plays the father of the character he's inspired. So that kind of works, right? Yeah. I guess, we could probably pick scenes willy-nilly, but was there any other sort of... was there anything in the comic books that wasn't in the show that you're sort of not upset about, but really would have liked to have seen? Off the top of your head? Tough question.
Not that I'm upset about. However, I'm very impressed with the way that they handled it. Flight 37.
Mm-hmm.
For those in the know, that replaced 9/11.
Oh, did it really?
Yeah. So in the books, Homelander, it's only Homelander, I think, gets word that there is a terrorist attack on the New York, on the Twin Towers. That terrorist attacks are incoming. So he gets up and he gets the plane and he wrestles the first plane to the ground, and instead of saving the people, he ends up crashing it into the Brooklyn Bridge. And he basically, this comic averts 9/11. It basically pretends that it doesn't happen. In the way that, it's trying to make its heroes more villainous. Sure, he could have saved the plane and he could have saved the people that were on it because he knew that was going to happen. But he still ended up killing them from his actions. Much like what happened in the show, where he still takes down Flight 37 down over the ocean and kills everyone on the plane.
He lasers through the
basically the exact same thing happens. It's just that in the books, he ends up averting 9/11 crashing into the towers, instead crashing the plane into the Brooklyn Bridge.
I suppose it's a good thing about the show too.
I was really worried how they were going to... that was probably my biggest worry, was how they were going to handle the 9/11 thing. And the way that they did it, where it was basically just a transatlantic flight. And not only that, but they also had Queen Maeve be a part of it too, and having her guilt eat her up, knowing that Homelander killed all those people. I thought that was super interesting too. I think not doing 9/11 was probably the smartest play, because not only would it have dated the show,
it would have upset a lot of people.
9/11 is still a very touchy subject with a lot of Americans.
All right. Well, obviously you've got some ideas of where we... Well, do you have any ideas where we might be going, considering the ending?
I have no idea.
So that's really cool for you then, isn't it?
Yeah, they could still do stuff from the second volume, or the next, what comes next. But a lot of that comes from the fact that Billy is seeking vengeance for his wife, and he doesn't have to seek that anymore because she's not dead. So
yeah,
that's... I don't know where it's going in that regard, but if they continue to do as good an adaptation as they've done so far, like I'm going to be happy when season 2 rolls around.
Definitely. Couldn't come sooner. All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap up our The Boys coverage there. Obviously, if you've listened to all that spoiler stuff, you've probably already seen it. If for some miracle you haven't, go and watch it. It really, there's just nothing more to be said. It's outstanding. We're going to dive now into our topic of conversation for this fortnight, and it's one I said I just sprung on The Boys here, so you should get some hopefully some real and raw reactions here. And that is, are film critics still worth reading? So obviously before we had the internet, anyone that was looking to get the skinny on whether a film at the local cinema was worth watching or not would pick up a newspaper or what have you, maybe a magazine. And now we live in an age of the internet where we have the internet in our pocket. We can quickly, pop onto, say, Metacritic or IMDb or any one of these sort of sites and instead look at peer reviews, which obviously can be exploited. We can talk about that. But is there still a need for the film critic in 2019? Ethan?
To be honest, I've never listened to film critics for anything, ever.
Right, so obviously you don't listen to the Pixel Pop Movie Podcast. I wouldn't call us critics, so I like to think of us more as peers. So,
but I don't look at critics. I don't look at reviews for movies or games. I tend to just look at a trailer and make my mind up that way. Right. If there's someone I know who has gone and watched it and it's been something they've been really looking forward to, and then I'm looking forward to, and we have similar tastes, and they say, "Nah, shit," then I'm more inclined to not watch it for that reason.
Right, so you're not reading or listening to critics. You're very much influenced by your peers.
Yeah, but only if it's someone I know who has the same taste and is really likes the same things I like. Then I'll listen to it. If they say, let's say they like a bunch of historical movies, and they go watch one and say oh, I don't like this one, I'm gonna be like, you like historical shit, so of course they're gonna fucking like it. Right. I'm not gonna listen to them. So you wouldn't go even hunting for peer reviews. You would only really wait until someone approached you and say, "Hey, Ethan, I know your tastes. You will like this." Yeah, essentially, yeah. Okay, all right. What about yourself, Lucas?
So this is really interesting that this has been brought up. Because
I swear to you, it's total RNG here. I just picked the topic.
Yeah, so it's just really interesting that you've brought this up because I'm a massive fan of Philip DeFranco. Now, on Friday, his news company, Rogue Rocket, did an article on this, like a video article talking about critics in film media. Critics and film media. And I agree with Ethan. If you should only be following critics that you kind of agree with, because you'll be able to get a good idea if you'll like a movie or not. So, for example, right, if that critic could say that they're a Martin Scorsese fan, but think that Tarantino is a hack, you're not going to go to them for a Tarantino review. Yeah. So, the article that they did was like a deep dive on are critics becoming irrelevant. Yeah. And is Rotten Tomatoes irrelevant? How much of a relevant role does Rotten Tomatoes play when it comes to films finding an audience, right? And if you're going to critics, I would say no, to the point where as an overall thing. However, specific critics, if you're gonna follow someone because you like the same things as them, they may be a good source of recommendation, because you also may not know. They may see a movie and be like, "Hey, we also reviewed this movie," and you may not even know that movie exists. However, the big thing with the Rogue Rocket piece was that they did research, because movie studios are believing that Rotten Tomato is killing their movies because of the scores that they're getting, because they found out that any movie that makes between 0 and 25% on the tomato meter is likely to make way less money, because people will see the critic scores and automatically be like, "Nah, it's a shit film, we're going to go see something else." Right. Whereas movies that were hitting around 75-80% were making more money. And you can see examples of this in a lot of the movies that have made $1 billion in the past few years have had upwards of 80 to 90% Rotten Tomato scores. And there was just all these really kind of crazy correlations in the data that, while we may look at it and be like, I'm not going to take a critic review seriously. As a person, as a market, critic reviews are just as important as they've ever been because they make or break a film now. More so than what they ever could have done. Like, again, you go back to the whole print media thing. And, you know, I remember when I was a kid, like I've been a movie nut ever since I was a kid. And I would go through and I would look for the movie reviews because I'd want to know what movies were out and what movies were good and what people were rating them in the Courier Mail and stuff. That's now on a grander scale. Now that we have the internet, you can see, you know, it's not Jim and Barry reviewing something in the Courier Mail and giving it 3 stars. You know, it's now people like Roger Ebert and other massive critics in the States that have these massive platforms to give their opinions that are now traveling across the entire world.
Right.
So yeah.
So you obviously still read up certain critics.
Yeah, I'll read certain critics. Like I'll look at what some of the guys from Variety and like a lot of the bigger publications. I'll still look at tomato scores and stuff. But when it comes to like Rotten Tomatoes scoring system, I don't like it. I don't look at the percentages. I actually look at the average rating.
Right.
And a lot of the time as well, I'll look at audience score rather than critic score.
Right. Yeah.
Because there have been instances where there have been genuinely good films that have come out, in my opinion, where the critics have just absolutely slammed it because they haven't liked it. But the whole point of the film is like that it's not meant to be a film like Moonlight or La La Land. Like they were basically putting films like Godzilla, like the new Godzilla movie, on the same level as Endgame.
Yeah.
You know, and
Blade Runner got torn apart as well, both the original and the sequel. You know, and it's I can definitely see where you're coming from there.
They're kind of put on unfair
Pedestals.
platforms.
Yeah.
So. Like again, I guess my main consensus is that while they're not important to me, they're important to the industry.
Yeah, that's a fair comment.
I think that's what's more important.
Yeah. Personally, I mean, I used to subscribe to Empire magazine. You know, I'd pick it up every month, and probably not so much for the film reviews. Actually, it was probably more for the insider goss, which I used to really like. But it wasn't like, you know, who's dating who. It was sort of like, you know, behind the scenes on movie stuff, which I really dug.
Yeah, I used to get Total Film back in the day.
There you go. I still use things like IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, but only if I'm looking for something to watch on a streaming service this day and age. So I'll use something like the Just Watch website, which obviously lets me browse through multiple streaming services and look for new releases or a specific movie. But it also shows things like Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb ratings. So if I'm just, if I'm bored on a given night and I want something to watch, I'll use those scores for that then, because I'm usually not looking at a blockbuster. It's a case of, what was this junk from the 80s that I've not seen before? Just how bad is it? Ghoulies 3, right? But for big stuff these day and age, I tend to, I guess I'm more inclined to watch the trailers and then sort of form my own opinion. And I know I don't even really find myself particularly caught up in the hype train unless it's self-induced. If I watch a couple of trailers and I get hyped, that's one thing. But I mean, there's plenty of times where you guys will watch a trailer, like Godzilla for instance, and get hype, and it just doesn't impact me at all. Like, I've watched those trailers and then I just go, this is just not my film. So I guess one big thing that's changed, not just in terms of how critics present their information, but the other thing is that film studios and streaming services and all these have a more direct connection now to consumers. Because previously, obviously we didn't have internet. Any time you were going to watch a trailer is when you're already at a movie and they would show you trailers. And occasionally, I think later, sort of with DVDs and VHS, but in the DVDs, you would sort of see, might sometimes put a trailer for a cinema movie coming up. But it's only now with the internet the way it is that we've got all this stuff on social media and YouTube that, Disney or Paramount, whoever, can just slam that straight into consumers, which we've never had before. So I think in some regards now, at least, consumers are probably able to make more informed decisions because there's just more information. Whereas previously we didn't have that, so we kind of had to rely on critics because they had seen the film. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Am I waffling?
100%.
It's an interesting one. But what I want to do is I'm gonna turn this topic over to listeners, and I'll put another poll up on our Facebook page. Just look for Pixel Pop Network, and we'll see, what their response is. Are film critics still worth reading? Yes, no, and we'll see what they've got to say, and we can have a look at the results next fortnight. But yeah, no, that's a really good, interesting point you brought up there, Lucas. I'm glad you did, because I didn't really think of it that way, and it's how it impacts the industry is definitely something worth considering. And for those answering the poll, maybe keep that in mind. And just because you don't read them, are they still? They may still be very much relevant. So. All right, so that's the topic of conversation dealt with for this fortnight too. So look for that poll on our Facebook page and let us know your thoughts and answer the question. Let's quickly touch on what's coming this fortnight. I'm pretty sure it's Dark Crystal on Netflix, and we don't care about anything else, right?
No, that's at the end of this month, unfortunately.
Damn.
Yeah, it's the 30th.
All right, so what have we got to keep us entertained between now and the 19th/20th?
Well, this week we have the Rocco's Modern Life movie is coming to Netflix.
Oh boy!
Okay.
And that Netflix picked up that.
This is going to be me going back into my childhood.
We also have Glow Season 3 is out this week. Woo Assassin Season 1 is out this week on Netflix. Howard the Duck is out on Netflix next week if you want to watch that.
That's the original one. Yeah. Okay, that's fucking terrible. You've been warned. If you haven't seen it, it is fucking terrible.
I haven't seen it.
It is fucking terrible.
The Invader Zim movie also comes out on Netflix next week.
And that's a new film, isn't it?
Yeah, and so the Rocco's Modern Life one, they're all new as well.
Yeah,
so they've been in development for the past 3 years.
Right.
But Nickelodeon hadn't distributed them, so Netflix was like, "We'll buy it, we'll check it out."
I'll catch some more Zim. Damn straight.
Yeah, so will I. Fucking
yeah, because they're doing a new series too, aren't they?
I'm not sure. I think it depends on how other movies.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Cool.
There's also Once Upon a Time in Hollywood comes out next week for Australia.
Right, which has been doing pretty well so far from what I've heard at cinemas. Yep.
Critics. I think that's about it. Hobbs and Shaw's out now. Came out just this past weekend. If you want to go catch that.
Apparently it spoils Game of Thrones.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now I noticed there's a massive, it just spoils the end of Game of Thrones in one of the post credits or something, or at the end of the movie. Yeah.
Okay.
Not that it really fucking matters, but yeah, it's there. Right. Okay. Cool. All right. Well, so there's a little bit of stuff happening, but
yeah.
Just before we wrap up, we did miss arguably the biggest piece of news this week, and I'm not joking. TENET.
Yeah. Okay.
We completely forgot about TENET. This is Christopher Nolan's next film, shrouded in secrecy. We know nothing about it. Hobbs and Shaw. I only got triggered because Ethan mentioned Hobbs and Shaw before. This trailer is only showing exclusively in front of Hobbs and Shaw in the United States in certain cinemas. I'm just going to read out a description provided by Collider. This 40-second trailer will not be digitally released anywhere, purely because Nolan doesn't want it anywhere online in high def. However, there are copies of it going around online, it's very cam recorded. But the way it begins, the teaser begins with a shot of Tenet's lead, John David Washington, who was the lead from BlacKkKlansman. He's standing in a room and investigating a bullet hole in a pane of glass. The room could possibly be an interrogation room, and then it says, if not, the vibe of the room is quite similar. A title card cuts in and tells the audiences that it's time for a new protagonist. The teaser returns to Washington's character. He touches the bullet hole in the glass and appears to step forward to another pane of glass. It looks like the same pane of glass from before with the bullet hole in the exact same spot, only the bullet hole appears a bit bigger with more cracks emanating from it. Another title card cuts in. Time for a new kind of mission. The teaser then begins to rapidly cut back and forth between shots of the movie title logo, which features the 10 in Tenet right side up, and the ET upside down. The entire logo appears to be moving like the hands of a clock. In between these shots are quick glimpses of Washington's character, one of him leading a team, all dressed in black military tactical gear, with a full face mask and helmet, as well as a few quick shots of Washington's character in action. The last shot of the trailer is John Washington's character in a featureless room wearing an oxygen mask. He comes to and looks forward as a door opens in front of him and we don't see what's behind it. And that's it. It's just It is just 40 seconds of out of context shots. with no hint as to what the fuck is going on.
You might have a hint with that first logo I sent you.
Now, this is where it gets interesting. The logo that was then shared on Christopher Nolan's social media was then very quickly taken down. Ethan actually managed to get a copy of it before it went down. Now,
there's the lesson,
Tenet
folks.
logo.
Save everything.
Save everything, because you don't know when it's going to go off the internet. The logo for Tenet is just, it's just, again, the way it was described from the trailer. It's TEN spelt correctly, and then ENT basically flipped upside down in reverse. But the logo, in between all the letters, like they're kind of block letters, but in between, like where the way the block lettering is done up, it looks like a maze, and it looks very similar to the Inception logo.
Oh.
So people
It's a red maze, just like the Inception logo was a maze within the logo.
And the title cards, time for a new protagonist, time for a new kind of mission. So Reddit is going nuts, thinking that this is a loose sequel to Inception.
Right. Like, or at least in the same universe, so like a sidequel kind of thing.
Well, here's one thing though. Michael Caine's in both of these movies.
Yeah. So Michael Caine's in this one as well.
Okay.
Also, as part of the main cast is John David Washington, Robert Pattinson, Elizabeth Debicki, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Michael Caine, and Kenneth Branagh. So this is another one that's an absolutely stacked cast.
Oh, I mean, I'm sure Reddit's already brainstorming the shit out of this. I mean, there's probably every.
Well, yeah. I found a set video showing some people walking across a bridge over a road. The people are walking normally, but all the cars underneath the bridge are going backwards. They're all driving backwards, as if like one flow of time's going normal, the other one's in reverse.
Yep, which kind of flicks back to that scene in Inception where they're at the cafe. There's something very similar like that is happening.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, if they're at the trailer stage, then we must be less than 12 months out on a release. One would think.
July 17th, 2020.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So we're just under a year away.
But I mean, Inception's one of his like most highly rated movies. So to come out with a surprise like sequel, prequel, sidequel, whatever, is just gonna blow everyone away, like complete. But like, even if he doesn't announce it and he does like M. Night Shyamalan and does it like Split, and it's like one little thing at the end that you're like, oh shit, this is a fucking something to Inception.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the marketing for the movie at all. You only know it until you go and watch it.
Yeah. All right, well, lots to think about. Plenty of excitement and hype. Thank you to everybody for tuning in and listening to us waffle on. It's always appreciated. So to our Patreon supporters who help donate their precious funds to us so that we can keep our SoundCloud account open so you can go back and listen to the entire volume of our work. We've been doing it for a couple of years now. We're getting there. So, but we'll be back next fortnight. Until then, head over to the Facebook page. Make sure you vote on that poll. And we'll catch you in the next episode. Dun, 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 dun.